God some praise. Come on, give him thanks for what he's done. Give him thanks for what he's going to do. Y'all give God some crazy praise. Y'all can have a seat. I'm going to get into a little story. Brother Devin, would you stay with me for a little bit longer? Tell your neighbor, God's been good. Come on, y'all can do better than that. God's been good. First off, I want to thank Bishop for giving me the platform to speak on today. Thank my beautiful wife, if she would turn around. I love you, baby. Somebody say 2 years. 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. 2 years ago, and some change, I preached my first sermon right here at New Destiny, right here in this spot. I remember the suit I had on. I remember what I talked about. I remember what my wife was wearing. I remember what we did the next day. I remember what we did that day. I remember what we did the day before. That was one of the most amazing times of my life because God chose me. God chose little, unqualified, short, my hair is uneven, my head is uneven, my ears don't match. God chose me to preach and proclaim his word. So when I started about 2 years ago, I was on fire. I was ready. I was moving. I was running. I was running for God. And then about 6 months later, or 2 months later, I got my license from Bishop. And about a month after that, I started letting self get in the way. I started letting myself get in the way of what God had for me. I started doing things on my own. I stopped following God's plan for me. I started walking it out on my own. How many of you know that can be detrimental? That can be very detrimental for me to walk out or try to walk out God's plan on my own. I was chasing titles. I was chasing positions. I was chasing this. I was chasing that. And I wasn't falling under the leadership and the subjection of Bishop. I thought I could do it on my own. So one day, blew up. We had an argument, this, that, and the other, and I was like, cool, deuces, I'm gone. I can do this on my own. I don't need a covering. But how many of you know that's wrong? I need a covering. I need somebody to watch over me. I need somebody to keep the devil off of me. I need a spiritual covering, an umbrella to protect me. Because the enemy doesn't play fair. So, came in, put my license on the table. Many of y'all know this story, but many of y'all don't. But I'm going to tell it today because it's going to go along with my sermon. So y'all just listen, let me talk a little bit. So, I put the license on this desk, left keys too, said I'm gone. I can do this on my own. Whatever. So I followed Bell for the longest. I said, that's my boy, that's my road dog. I'm gonna follow him. I'm gonna go wherever he go. And he said, Matt, I love you, but I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna hurt you. I was like, man, what you gonna tell me that's gonna hurt me? And we've been close for 2-3 years, and that was one of the first dudes I ever said, I love you, bro. Because I thought that was, kind of, yeah, I was like, I love you, bro. So he told me, Matt, you have to fall and get under a church. You can't just follow me because in the where God has me at, I am in the role of evangelism, and I travel. I go this place, that place, and the other, and I can't have you going in and out of these atmospheres with me because I don't have a church of my own and I can't cover you. So long story short, he set me up with this pastor. I started trying to do the things that God had for me at New Destiny, at that particular church. And how many know you can't take old ways into a new relationship? You can't. So I started trying to take my ways and my old ways and do this and that. I said, I'm gonna become that youth pastor. We're gonna be booming, we're gonna be rocking. But how many of you know God had a plan for me at NDFC? God didn't have a plan for me at X church. God had a particular plan for me at NDFC, so I aborted my mission at NDFC. I aborted my assignment. Y'all will learn about that in this message. I aborted my assignment. I left what I was supposed to do here to start my own process. So down the line, I went through this, I went through that, I went through depression, I went through anxiety, I went through, you name it, I went through it. Because I couldn't understand, God, if you called me to do all of these things and to be in this platform and to help all these people and be effective, why can't I be effective at this church? Why can't I be effective with my own plan? But Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you, plans not to harm you, but to give you hope in the future. It never said anything about Matt's plan. It never said anything about Fran's plan. It never said anything about Bell's plan. It said, for I am God. I am Yahweh. God. Yes. I know the plans I have for you. So, y'all will learn more about the story. I'm going to jump in and out of the story in my sermon because it's going to get me to the expected end of where I want to get you to understand. I'm trying to get you to point A to point B. So, if y'all would stand today as we prepare to go into this message, and Sister Cons, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for doing what God told you to do and preach that message on last 2 Sundays ago. That helped me tremendously because I knew that my story mattered at that particular point in time, and that particular message played a big part in this message that I'm preaching on today. So I thank you. Y'all give her a hand clap of praise. Ready? It reads, for I know the plans that for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future. Verse 12 says, then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. 13 says, you will seek me and find me, and when you seek me with all of your heart, I will be found by you. I just read you Jeremiah 29:11, verses 11 through 13. I think I bumped over into 14, but I'm trying to read it off my phone. But if y'all could just pray with me for a moment in time, I want to talk from the subject of there's a purpose in the process. There's a purpose. You may be seated. There's a purpose in the process. There's a purpose. I'm going to give you 2 definitions real quick. Purpose. Purpose is the reason for which something is done or created. You were created for purpose. You were created to do certain things. You were created to walk in effective. You were created to live in overflow wealth. I know everybody loves when people and preachers say that. So, process. Process, the definition reads, a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end. A particular end, the order of steps. Whenever I was little, my grandmama used to make cornbread. And I say cornbread because I'm from the country. Cornbread was really, really good. And I always ask my grandmother, Granny, how do you make cornbread? How do you make cornbread? She was like, yes, son, you're not ready. Yes. You're not ready. And I was like, okay, because I love the cornbread. I used to put a little butter on the top of it, pop it in the microwave, let the butter slide down the side and stuff like that. I'm getting excited right now because I love some cornbread. Cornbread. Even my dog loved cornbread. We were two cornbread eating fools. So I asked her one day, I said, Grandma, how do you make cornbread? I want to know for myself. And she said, it's a process. It's a process to make cornbread. I said, wait a minute. I see these boxes on the shelf. I see these boxes in the store. Wait a minute, don't you just open it up, pour it in a bowl, and bam, put it in the oven, stir it up, pour some water. And she said, no. You don't do that. It's a process. It's a set amount of steps that you have to go through to get to the expected end that you're trying to get to, which is the buttery goodness that come out of the microwave. Cornbread. So, she said, first you gotta warm up the oven and stuff like that. I don't know how to make cornbread. I was gonna research it. I asked Sister Tijuana Timmons. I said, how do you make cornbread? Because I want to use it in my sermon. How do you make it? Because I couldn't remember how to make it because I wasn't listening. I was just trying to get to the expected end. I was trying to get to the buttery goodness. So she said, first you got to put the oven, I don't even know the time, say 350. You got to put the oven on 350. You got to rub some grease or some butter on the pan and put it in the oven for a certain amount of time. I said, Granny, why do you have to do that? Why can't you just put it in the pan? And she said, son, I can't put it directly in the pan because it will stick. It will stick to the pan. The pan has to be lubricated, so when you get done with the cornbread and you cut it, it just pops right out. Yeah. And I was like, Granny, that's too much. And she was like, son, that's not it. She said, then you have to stir the ingredients, but you have to add the ingredients one after the other. Me, I would have just dump, stir, bam. My cornbread would have been lumpy. My cornbread eggs wouldn't have been done all the way. The cornbread wouldn't have been the buttery goodness that I wanted to accomplish. So she said, you gotta add one ingredient after the other. And you have to stir it to get the lumps out. I said, Granny, why are you sitting there stirring that cornbread for about 10, 15 minutes? That cornbread is good. Just pour it in there. Let's go. Pop it in the oven, 20 minutes. Bing. Let's do it. I'm about to eat me some buttery goodness. It's just like, no. It takes time. The process takes time. And I just want to encourage you today that in your process, it takes time. You can't have a microwave process. You have to be particularly made and everything has to be put together for you to get to your expected end. Because trust and believe, if you don't follow the particular steps in your process, you won't be effective at the end. You cannot be effective at the end. So, she said, now, after we've done all these particular things, we can pop it in the oven. I said, it still ain't ready. About 3 episodes of Power Rangers done went off, and I'm hungry. I love Power Rangers. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's morphin' time. It's morphin' time. You got me hyped when I was a kid. It's morphin' time. It is morphin' time. So, the process. So, when I thought about the process of cornbread, I thought about the story of David. In 1 Samuel, Prophet Samuel was sent out by God to anoint a new king because the particular king, Saul, he fell from God's graces. So I was reading up and I was like, okay, God, why do you have me reading this particular story? What nutrients do I need to pull out of this story to give to your people? So I kept reading and I kept reading, and I'm paraphrasing the story. I'm going to summarize it for time's sake. Samuel went to Jesse's house. Jesse had 7 sons, and he was supposed to anoint a new king. Jesse thought that the first son, when the first son came out, because he was, as the quote unquote the females say, he was fine. He was all that in a bag of chips. He was the total complete package. But God said, no. Samuel, you have to look at what's on the inside. Just because the exterior of the thing looks good doesn't mean the interior is right. So his heart had to be right. So he went down the list of all the different sons. Abinadab came. It's like, no. Next one came. No. No. Samuel was like, well, God, like, who do you want me to anoint? Who do you want me to anoint? And Samuel said, Jesse, do you have any more sons? Then he said, yeah, there's the youngest, David. He's out tending to the sheep. He was tending to the sheep. So Samuel said, we're going to wait. God said, wait, go get him. Y'all go get him. Do your thing, tell him to come up here. We're going to make this happen. As soon as David walked in, God said, yep, that's the one. That is the one that I've been waiting on. That is the one. Come on now. So, the thing in the story that puzzled me was David just got anointed king. The Holy Spirit, the anointing fell heavy on him at that particular moment. I was like, wait a minute. So I kept on reading the story. I was like, I don't get it. God, why didn't David leave with Samuel that day? David did not leave with Samuel that day. And it said in the text, David said, okay, all this stuff happened. You know, I done got the word. I done got the anointing on me and all that. Come on now. Like, can I go back to my sheep? Y'all missed the miracle. Can I go back to my sheep? David had to go back to the particular place that he was serving. David didn't abort his current assignment. He didn't try to get the microwave work. David said, can I go back to my sheep? So, me, I was like, you know, little old me, I would have been like, hey, Samuel, you got a donkey for me? I mean, I don't mind riding on the back. I mean, you know, so do I need to go get my things? Do I need to go get my things from the pastor? You know, because, you know, I'm the king. I'm the king now. And see, that's how I was feeling after I preached my first sermon. I thought that I had already made it. I thought that I had already made it. I thought that I had already made it. And David was like, can I go back to my sheep? I don't want to go to the lavish. I don't want to go to the king. I don't want to go to the palace. I just want to go back to the thing that I was serving in my previous assignment. I just want to go back to children's church. I just want to go back to children's church. So in the story, I'm gonna walk into my first point, if that's cool with y'all. I'm about to walk into my first point. Let me get some water real quick. Hold on, let's go. My first point says, there is purpose in your current assignment. There is purpose in your current assignment. And this gets me excited. 1 Samuel 17 says, I'm going to tell the story. I love telling stories. I believe telling stories is a way of getting people's attention, getting them to where you want them to go. So, in 1 Samuel 17, David's brothers was away at war. They were away at war with King Saul. They were fighting the Philistine army. And David's dad, Jesse, he said, hey, David, I need you to do me a favor. Can you take some red velvet waffles and chicken from the food lady, Livingston, Texas, and to your brothers while they're away at war? Can you take them some stuff? David was like, cool. This is the part that excited me. David said, let me get somebody to put in my current assignment so my sheep won't go. So my sheep won't be without. So David got another shepherd, and his current assignment was covered, because I believe that he knew that it was time to go to the next level. I believe that he knew that it was time to go to the next level. So he set off with the red velvet waffles from a food lady. Chicken and waffles, Livingston, Texas, hashtag good. I got a couple more hashtag hashtag rub it on your belly. He set off with the waffles from the food lady. When he got there, it was like, man, what y'all doing sitting around here? I said, y'all demeanor is down. And they looked at the Philistine. He was like, yeah, he high, it's big, and he will come out every morning and talk bad about that God. So, fast forward, David stands up and says, man, I got this. This uncircumcised Philistine ain't got nothing for me. I got this. I got God on my side. So, here's the good part. Saul said, David, you're a young boy. You cannot fight. This Philistine has been a warrior since his youth. You can't defeat him. David says, I got God on my side. I believe he's quoting the scripture, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So, calm down, y'all making me nervous. That's not the miracle. The miracle was, David says, yes, I got it. When a lion came in, I went after, he came in and took my sheep. I went after it. When a bear came in, I went after the sheep. And I pried it from the lion and the bear's mouth with the help of God. You see, if David would have aborted his current assignment, he would have never been ready for his next test. He would have never been ready for his next test. If he wouldn't have stayed in his current assignment, if he would have hopped on the donkey and went with Samuel, he would have aborted everything that God had for him. You see, it wasn't God's plan or God's process for him to go to the palace right then and there. He knew that David had to do some extra stuff in the current assignment that he was in to get him ready for the test. So David picked up 5 smooth stones, a slingshot, and said, I got this. With God on my side, I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. And he let it go. The Philistine dropped with a stone. Stone is big. A slingshot. Not a sword, a slingshot. Can I tell you that the Philistine dropped and David killed him with his own sword? You see, physically that's not possible to knock somebody yay high out with a stone. But you see, God said, all I need you to do is have the faith of a mustard seed, a little bit of faith, and I will take care of the situation. And you see, David pulled his own sword and cut his head off. God said, I'll let you step in and do the rest. God said, I will let you step in and do the rest. All you got to do is have a little faith in me. So, with that being said, you got to stay in your current assignment until God is satisfied. Even though you've already got the word that it's time to go, or you've got the word that you're going to be this, that, and the other moving forward, you still have to stay back in the pasture with the sheep, doing what God has told you to do. A wise man once said, if you stop hearing God, go back to the next place, go back to the place that you heard him last. Bishop Hart. So, if I can walk into my second point, it says, be still in your process. Wait on him. You got to wait on him. You can't move prematurely, because if you move prematurely, stuff happens. If you move prematurely, you may not be ready for the test. If you move prematurely, you may not be ready. So, in that point it says, wait. The definition of wait is the action of staying where one is or delaying until a particular timing. Somebody say God's timing. You have to be still and wait until God's timing, because at the end of the day, he knows the plan. You don't. You just trying to figure out the plan, or you just trying to walk the plan out. It's God's plan. Psalms 37:7 reads, be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways. Just because people around you are started the process when you started it, just because they're moving forward, don't mean you need to chase behind them. Don't mean you need to get discouraged, because God has a plan for you. God has a plan for you. God's plan. God's plan. So, you have to be still and wait. You got to wait on God's plan and his timing. You got to wait. Be still. If that means I need to serve on the usher ministry for 10 more years because God is not ready for me to move, or I need to serve in children's church for about 5 more days because God is not ready for me to move, if that means I need to stay at that job, oh come on, y'all hear me, if I need to stay at that particular job until God is ready for me to move, because I may not be ready for what's next. During the first month of pregnancy, the doctor says, you got to be careful. You have to be careful where you go, because you don't want anything to happen. You don't want anything to happen to your baby. You don't want anything to affect your pregnancy, because those are the vital months that you need when you're pregnant. You have to watch where you go. You have to watch who surrounds you. You got to watch, because I don't want to lose my baby. I don't want to lose my baby. I have to be still. Pregnancy is the process, but I love the first part of the process. Amen. Pregnancy is a process. Pregnancy is the process. Somebody say practice. I remember Allen Iverson said, practice? What you talking about practice? Shoot, I love practice. So, You have to be careful of what you do and where you go. Because you have to be still. You don't want anything to happen to your baby. You don't want anything to go wrong. You don't want anything to happen. Philippians 4:6 reads, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. That's a vital necessity. Hashtag Minister Miles. That is a vital necessity. Prayer and petition. Go before the throne. Tell God what you want to do, how you want to do it. Hey God, if this is your plan, let your will be done. But if anything is not your plan, take it away. Do not be anxious. Whenever I first started preaching, I was anxious. I was to do everything. I was gung-ho. I did everything. I was moving chairs. I was cleaning bathrooms. I was doing everything. I was trying to hook up with these particular pastors. I was trying to get to where I was going in my time. I was anxious. I was serving God with a sprint. God wants you to serve him with a stride. You got to walk it out. Because if you're moving with a stride, have you ever tried to run down a hallway? If you sprint down a hallway, can you see in the other rooms? Because you're missing things. When you run with a stride, you can see the attack of the enemy coming to your left. You can see the attack of the enemy coming to your right. You can see the obstacle that is in front of you. You can see it coming up, so you have time to prepare. Do not be anxious about anything. Stay in prayer with petition. It's a vital necessity. Hashtag Minister Miles. She did that Sunday. Even though she's not here, y'all give her a hand clap of praise. Number 3, it says, trust God in your process. Proverbs 3:5 says, trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not to your own understanding. A lot of times we are guilty of this. When things get rough, we have problems trusting God because we're like, God, is this you? And everybody's saying this, that dang devil busy again. My granny said it all the time, that devil busy again. It's part of your process because God is the only person that can release the devil to do what he needs to do. So it's part of your process. And when we stop moving at the pace that we think we need to move at, we get frustrated. We get tired. We get, God, why aren't you moving? God, why aren't you doing this? Why haven't I got accomplished? Why haven't I my goals? Why haven't this? Why haven't that? And God says, I got you, because God is great behind the scenes. God is working everything out for your good behind the scenes. You just have to trust him. That's why the verse says, lean not to your own understanding. I don't understand it, but God, I'm here. I don't understand it, but God, I'm ready. I don't understand it. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, for we walk by faith and not by sight. That simply means that God, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where you're taking me. But God, here's my hand, lead me. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where are you taking me, but here's my hand, lead me. Take me to where you need me to go. Pull me through this process because I can't do it on my own. Pull me through this process. Take me to where you need to go. Prepare me. Order my steps in your word. Order my steps in your word, please. Order my steps, God. Lead me, for I walk by faith and not by sight. In my particular process, when I was away, I started dealing with all of these things. I started dealing with depression. I started dealing with anxiety. I started dealing with suicidal thoughts. I started dealing with this. I started dealing with that because I was like, God, when you move prematurely and you think it's God, the most humbling part of that process is when he said, I never told you to move. Come on. It's when he said, I never told you to move. It's like my son, whenever my daughter does something, my daughter said, hey, he said he gonna do this. And I didn't say that. I says, I didn't tell you to move. So why did you move? I told you to be still and wait. Wait on me. Wait on my word. Wait on Bishop. Wait on me to talk through Bishop. Wait. So I left. And I even stopped going to church on Wednesdays when I was out there. I didn't go to church any Wednesdays while I was gone. I was gone about 9 months. I was gone a long time. Like the Chinese people say, let me long time. I was gone a long time. I was gone a long time. And I never went to Bible study on Wednesdays. I never. Didn't even attempt. Wednesdays became my relaxed day. They became my relaxed day. And can I tell you, when you stop, it's like whenever you're working out or whenever you're going to the gym every day. If you stop going to the gym for a certain amount of time, your regimen or what you do is going to be knocked off because your body is used to you going this day, that day, and the other day. So when I stopped going to Bible study, I became malnourished. I became malnourished in the spirit. Malnourished simply means that I'm not getting the correct amount of nutrients that I need to survive. I became malnourished in the spirit. So with me not going on Wednesdays like I should, or going like Wednesdays like I wanted to, I became malnourished. I became malnourished in the spirit. I couldn't discern certain things. I couldn't pray like I should. I couldn't serve as a minister like God needed me to serve because I stopped doing the very thing. I stopped training. I stopped training. And when you stop training, the world continues to move time after time after time. The world keeps going. It doesn't stay in a particular season or a particular time period. The world keeps going. Like a lot of people say, you gotta grow with the times. I stopped growing with the times. The enemies are different in the next season. The enemies are different in the next season. The enemies are different in the next level. So I became malnourished. I wasn't getting the correct amount of nutrients that I needed to survive in the next level. I didn't get the correct nutrients. I wasn't getting my Flintstone vitamins. I wasn't getting them. So in that particular point in time, Bill, I love you. I thank you for everything you've done. I thank you. Y'all give it up. Y'all give it up. I thank you. I thank you for everything you've done. And this is the most important particular part in the sermon. Well, the second most, because of the last point. That's good. Number 4, it reads, because how many of you know when you're going through or when you are dealing with different things, you need somebody to push you. You need somebody to try to get you to where God has called you or shift you back into position. My next point, it reads, point number 4, your company matters in your process. Who you surround yourself with matters in your process. And I gotta, in Mark 2, verses 1 through 5, y'all can write it down because this story really got me. This story really got me. It was about these 4 guys. It was a guy paralyzed. And if I could imagine being paralyzed, he couldn't move, he couldn't do anything, he couldn't help himself, he couldn't get to where he needed to be. Hey, can I get 4 people? Marcus, Shahid, Jerry and Jerry. I couldn't think of your name. Derek, I'm sorry, I couldn't think of your name. I almost said Ed and Randy. So, if I could just imagine him being paralyzed, he couldn't move, he couldn't do anything. Y'all ain't gotta pick me up, because I don't need to be dropped. I could believe that with him being paralyzed, he couldn't go, or he couldn't get to where he needed to be. And this is why I said your circle matters on who you surround yourself with. I'm not talking about Keisha. I'm not talking about Ray. I'm not talking about Meredith. I'm not talking about, I said Meredith for Alana. You have to surround yourself with people that are going to push you, that are going to encourage you to get to where God is trying to get you to, that are going to pick you up when you're down and get you to Jesus. And in this story, these 4 men, I don't know how they met, but if I could just imagine, they were friends that were connected some way. So they said, we gotta get our buddy to Jesus. We gotta get him to Jesus. We gotta get him to Jesus. And they picked him up on a mat, and they, turn out the lights. We gotta light some candles. I believe they picked him up and they had to take him to where he needed to be. And I believe that they were connected somehow. So they picked him up on his mat. I ain't gonna lay down, guys. I don't want y'all to drop me. Because he was paralyzed. And if I could just imagine, with him being paralyzed, all he could do was look up. All he could do was look up. So they said, we gotta get our buddy to Jesus. We gotta get him to Jesus. So they heard that Jesus was teaching. He was, a large crowd was following him. He was teaching. And if I could just imagine, there was some sort of a building. So they started on that journey. They started out on that journey, getting their buddy to where Jesus was. But the good part about it was, when they got there, they couldn't get in the room. They couldn't get in the place where he was. They said, I believe they had the back door full of people. They had the front door full of people. They had the side door. They had the end door. They had every door was covered by people. You see, the fake friends would have gave up because it was too hard. They would have gave up because it was too hard to get him in front of Jesus. And this is the exciting part. They said, wait a minute. Let's go on the roof. Let's go on the roof. So they cut a hole in the roof. That's some friends. That's some friends. They cut a hole in the roof. They know that this depression, we got to get him to Jesus. These suicidal thoughts, we got to get him to Jesus. These thoughts, we got to get him to Jesus. If we can just get him before the master, I know that everything will be all right. So, they picked him up. They climbed on the roof. And as they were, holding me kind of strong. Whoa, hey, I almost reverted back to my old days. I'm in the club getting put out. They got me going. Hey, so they removed the towels and they removed it back. And they said, we're going to lower him in on the mat. And when they lowered him down, they lowered him right in front of Jesus. The thing that I couldn't understand about the text was, I don't know how much math they had to do. I don't know what type of equations they had to do. But when they lowered him down, he was right in front of Jesus. Somebody say that's faith. They had to have enough faith to rip up somebody else's roof to get him in front of Jesus, because they knew that the only way that their friend was going to get healed is if they got him before Jesus. So when they lowered him down, he was right in front of Jesus. Like I said, I don't know what type of math they was doing back then, but I want to know. Because if I knew how to cut a hole in the roof and lower him down to right where Jesus is going to be. Somebody say, that was done by God. That was done by God. And Jesus immediately looked up. He saw the faith of his brothers. He saw the faith of his brothers. I believe the man had faith too, but he couldn't do nothing because he was paralyzed. He couldn't move. He couldn't walk. He was paralyzed. And when they lowered him down, he was in front of Jesus. And Jesus looked up and said, your faith has healed you. Your faith has healed you. They lowered him down, got him to where he needed to be. Your faith has healed you. That's why I said your company matters in your process, because when you're down, you need somebody to pick you up, push you, get you to the next level, get you to where God needs to have you. You need encouragement in your process. And you don't need that phony encouragement that you get from the friends at the job. You don't need that phony encouragement that you get from I'm not talking about y'all New Destiny. We good people. Yeah. From the fake folks at the church.
Yeah.
We don't need it. Because in my particular season, I need warriors surrounding me. I need people that are going to carry me, that don't mind carrying my weight. And I believe that if he was down, the other friend would have took the place and carried him to get him to where he needed to be. I need warriors. Amen. Your company matters in your process. Thank y'all. Like I'm getting hot. I'm getting hot out of these skinny jeans. Oh, I'm getting hot in these skinny jeans. So, that's why I said your circle matters. Your circle matters. Y'all give God some praise. Your circle matters in your process. Your circle matters. Brother Devin, I'm ready if you're in here. I'm ready to walk on out of here. It's hot. Your circle matters in your process. It matters who you surround yourself with. You don't need a half circle. You don't need open-ended circle. You need a circle. Because if you notice, a circle is always ended. Though it never ends. It keeps going around and it's closed. So you need people that are going to shield you from folk. You need people that are going to shield you or help you when the enemy tries to attack you, maybe to absorb some of the blows. Because our buddy is going through. But we got to surround him. We got to protect him. You also need a circle of friends with a protective mentality. Because it's inevitable. In life, you're going to fall. In life, you're going to fall. I failed. As you can see in my process, I failed. But if I didn't have friends that surrounded me and kept me, because the enemy doesn't play fair. He loves to kick you while you're down. And I believe the friends absorb some of the attack. I believe with them having a full circle around him, they protected him and shielded him from some of the attacks from the enemy. Your circle matters. Your circle matters. My last point. This is the best point. This is the secret sauce to the whole message. This is point B. This is B destination. This is where I'm trying to get you to. My last point reads, let God lead your process. You have to let God lead your process. In Jeremiah 29:11, it says, for I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future. And it reads, you will come to me and seek me, and I will be found by you. I'm going off the dome because my phone shut off. And it reads, then you will call unto me and come and pray to me. I had to pray to him. I had to get before God and say, God, I need you to do this. God, I'm lost. I didn't fall by the wayside. God, I'm lost. I've stumbled off the path that you have for me. I started trying to do everything on my own. It says, then you will call on me and come to me and come and pray to me, and I will listen. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. I had to get my heart in tune with where I needed to go. I had to get my heart in tune. I had to seek him. I had to get before his feet. I had to seek him. And during that time, your friends, your company can only get you so far. Your company can only get you so far. And I believe, like in the story, it says they got him before Jesus. That's all they had to do. They had to get him before Jesus. And Jesus will handle the rest. That's why I said I love Bill. I love Bill because he got me before Jesus. He said, son, you got to seek him. And I know when he called me son, and with brothers, shoot, this guy talking. He said, son. And I ain't, his son. He didn't seek him. I said, okay, I got you. I got lost. So I knew in the back of my mind what I needed to do, how I needed to do it, and when I needed to do it. And like I said, Sister Evangelist Dixon, your message blessed me so much because in the message, I'm not going to preach it or anything, it said there was a process between when the prodigal son left and when the prodigal son got back to his father. I don't believe that he went out and squandered his wealth and then went back the next day. God said, I got to strip some things from you. God said, I got to remove some stuff from you. God says, I got to get you to where you need to be. And I was like, okay, God, I love you. God, you're amazing. You've done so much. What do I need to do, God? He's like, son, you know what you need to do. I said, I know what I need to do. Yeah, you know what you need to do, son. Because I seek him, and it didn't happen overnight. I had to seek him for about a month and a half straight because he needed to know that my heart posture was right. I couldn't take things from the old relationship back into the new relationship. Even though I was going back home, even though I was coming back to NDFC, I couldn't take things from the old into the new. We had to build a new relationship, man, Bishop. So I called Bill because Bill knew how I felt, and he knew how I felt when I left. I said, bro, God is telling me to go back to New Destiny. God is telling me to go back. What do I need to do? Shoo, listen to God. Exact words. Shoo, listen to God. I need to go back. I need to go back to where it all began. I needed to go back to where I heard God last, because I don't believe I heard God effectively while I was gone. And where I heard God last was back there with them kids. So I had to go back. I didn't ask to go back into that particular spot, but I believe with Bishop continuously praying for me and continuously I was on his mind that God told him, you gotta go back for a little while. Even if it's for a little while. That was gonna be the determining factor if I was ready to go on to the next level. I had to put my pride aside and go back to where I was serving God last. So, hard part came along. Somebody say the hard part. The hard part came. I had to call my wife. And she knew how I felt, and I knew how she felt. She knew how I felt when I left. And I took all of that into our relationship. She was like a sponge. She soaked up every bit of it. She soaked up every bit of what I was telling her. Can I tell you, you gotta be careful on what you talk about or how you talk about or how you feel towards a certain thing, because you will alter the mind of a person. You will alter the mindset, and I altered her mindset. So I knew this phone call wasn't gonna be good, so I called her on the daycare phone. I said, she ain't gonna talk me crazy today. I'm gonna call her on the daycare phone. So I hit it, I was waiting. She took forever to answer the phone that day for some unapparent reason. So she picked up, Little Pirates Daycare, how may I help you? She had to put on her. Y'all know what voice I'm talking about. You know that voice where you gotta talk to the employee and stuff like, hello, yes, my name is Matthew and I am right for the job. She had to put on the voice. So I said, babe. God is telling me something. You trust me? You trust me? Yeah, I trust you. You trust me? Yeah, I trust you. You trust me? Yeah, I trust you. We went about long from that for like 5 minutes. And she was like, no, just I couldn't say that word. She said it just like that. And I was like, okay, babe, God is telling me to go back to New Destiny. God is telling me to go back. And she hit me with a say, what? And that's how I knew that this was gonna be harder than what I thought. I thought that I was gonna be like, babe, let's go back to New Destiny. Okay, let's go. And she was gonna skip to my Lou, my darling, and go back. I love her because it was a process for God to get her back serving. Because when we first got back, she didn't do nothing. She knew nothing. She came on Women's Night on Wednesdays. She came in on Sundays, half late. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Half late, looking flawless. I'm like, at least, you know, I knew she is home with herself, stuff like that. She came in. So, it was a process for her to get back involved because she had to know that I was vested. How many of you know what the word vested simply means that I am in it for the long haul. We ain't going nowhere, baby. We in it for the long haul. And so, with that being said, when Sister Constance preached about the prodigal son, I said, because I mean, you're human. Thoughts start running through your head. You're like, okay, God, are you sure I need to be back? Because there was a point in time period where I had to go through the process of coming back. I had to walk in. I seen holes where I could fill in. But Bishop said, hold on, stay on the practice squad for a little bit. How many of you know that you need some time on the practice squad before you can go in the game? So, I stand in front of you as a living testimony. I'm a youth pastor. I'm a youth pastor. It was one of my goals. It was something I chased at first. But when I let God and I followed his plans, because he knows the plans that he has for me, plans to prosper me, when I followed his process, even though I took the long way around, God still got me to where he needed me to be. So I say, New Destiny, stay encouraged. As we continue to walk out this marathon of ministers, stay encouraged.